so excited to welcome you to another episode of The Conversation with PFlow. So, in the last few weeks, we've been talking about some very interesting principles that form the basis for our lives as individuals. I've always said to you that your life is a culmination of all of the things that you have invested in it. A lot of the time we think that life happens to us and we have no control over our outcomes. But the reality is that we do have control over our outcomes. So many times we allow things that are not of any importance to our lives. We allow them control the decisions we take. We allow them control even our outcomes. Today, I want to bring your mind back to something. I always believed that everything that we accomplish in this world is a function of how we were born, what environment we were born at, the values that we developed when we were growing up, and to some extent, the people who mentored us. You see, when it comes to mentoring, I've realized that if you do not put yourself in a place where you can learn from the mistakes and the achievements of others, it's most likely that you're going to repeat those same mistakes in your own journey. Today, I'm going to be joined by one of my brothers. He's someone that I've known for such a long time. And it's interesting that when he started out his career in the entertainment space, one would never have imagined some of the things he would have accomplished. Today, I'm really proud to have him as one of the guests on the conversation. My guest today is Mr. Rain. I call him Mr. Rain, but he's my friend, brother, and I would say confident at this point in time. Mr. Rain, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you so much, PFlow. I find it exciting to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
So thanks. You see, so what do we do on the conversation? I started this program to encourage people to look at their lives and realize that even though there are external factors that contribute to our outcomes, but at a lot of the time, how we succeed in life is usually driven by ourselves. I have the saying that 90% of the things that happen to us are neither divine nor diabolical, but they are the outcomes of the deliberate actions and inactions that we take as individuals. Do you share that view?
Absolutely. I think that that statement is very correct, very true. There's no ambiguity in it. So
for those who don't know, Mr. Rain is an entertainer. He's a comedian, actually a very funny guy. Hopefully he'll make me laugh a few times on this program. He's also a thespian. That's what you call it.
Yes.
He's done quite a number of very interesting stage plays. And so when I was thinking about this, I was looking at your career in the entertainment space. You might not be a face that is easily recognizable by some people, but when it comes to the work that you've done, it speaks for itself. And I wanted to ask you the question that, did this happen by chance, or did you deliberately start out your life knowing that this is what you wanted to do? This was the biggest and most important vision for your life?
Yes, I think that maybe for everyone, but for me, there was a tipping point.
Okay.
There was that point where I decided, or I knew that I only have to function in the creative and entertainment space, right? Because I would have been, say, an accountant or somewhere.
Like me.
Yes. But along the line, in the university, I discovered that I had good flair for entertainment. Pretty much, I was in the drama units, in the fellowship, and I was making people laugh. I was dancing, So in the process of, getting all that done, I just knew that that's where I wanted to be. So when I finished my first degree, you want to know that you don't put it to chance. So what I had to do was go back to take JAMB again,
I wanted us to talk about that because, I was hoping that you were going to be honest enough to tell us, because a lot of people don't realize that when you discover what you're good at, it's very, very important for you to have the discipline to be able to rebuild.
Absolutely. Yeah, so maybe now, right, you don't have to go and take jam again like myself. But there are other places you can get this knowledge. There are online courses, there's YouTube, the free universities, YouTube, but it is important, like you said, that if you discover something, one of the first things that you need to do is to learn about that thing. They say learn before you earn.
So this thing you said now reminds me of my younger brother, who they would show his picture now on the screen. He's today probably recognized as one of the top sound engineers in the world. And when Dio went to university, he went and studied chemistry at the University of Calabar. Apparently had a torrid time writing that course. I think from my records, he probably came out with a third class, but I wouldn't say it's in public. But what happened was that when he moved to the UK, he made the decision to go back to school. So he went back to school to study sound engineering, and then even went back and got a master's in entertainment. And when I look at where his career has gotten to today, I realized that it's not because he's a sound guy. There was that extra that he had to do to get him to the point where, look, when everyone lined up and there were sound people, there was something that stood him out from the rest of the crowd.
Yes, that's like the way to go, and I wouldn't argue with anyone, and I would freely say this to everybody. If you really want to excel at something, you have to know that thing, and you have to know it well. Otherwise, you might function in that space, but all you get is average results.
All you will get is average results. So the conversation is about transitioning people from average to excellent. So you know me, you've known me for some time, and one of the things that I always say to people is you sometimes have just one chance to make an impression on people's minds, and if you fail at that chance, you just might not get a second one.
You might not get again.
You might not get a second one, and so I want us to talk about excellence.
All right.
My coach, Mr. Chike Onier, always harps on excellence. He's obsessed with it, and it's somebody I'm hoping that I'm going to bring on the show at some point, on the conversation at some point. And Mr. Onier would say to you, Femi, you've got to be the best at what you do. I'm trying to mimic his voice. You've got to be the best at what you do. And bringing that into this conversation, I've watched a number of your shows. I've watched a number of your programs, and I'm sure we'll be showing some clips in the course of this event, And one thing that always stood out for me was how meticulous you were, about the smaller details. Now, the most interesting thing about it was that I knew that you didn't have a big budget. But even within the constraints of that budget, you still focused on delivering excellence. Tell me about that.
All right. Yes, thank you very much for the kind words. And I know that they are not flattery words, because it's also been with me from way back, which is what you have to do. You have to do it well, right? And I've always also known that money is not what makes everything right. Money is not, because there are some people with the biggest budgets, and we see them. We see. You have big budget. How come you have, they say that you are as good as your last job.
Yep.
If you want the biggest job, then your last job has to be the biggest that you have done.
Absolutely.
So it's something that I pride myself a lot in, and it has helped me a lot. It has in some ways made me your friend. I've been friends with certain set of people too, because they say, okay, if we give this to Mr. Rain, we know it will deliver, right? And I try to make sure that that's the first thing on my mind. If I'm going to do it, if I'm not going to do it well, or if I cannot do it well, I'd rather not do it.
If you can't do it well, you would rather not do it.
I would rather not do it.
Now, so this is quite important, because when we speak about excellence, one thing I always say to people is excellence doesn't mean that the first time you do it, you are going to achieve 100% results. Not necessarily. Excellence is actually doing it consistently better than you did the last two. And that's what I always say to people. You're not going to show up one day and become the best footballer. Cristiano Ronaldo did not just suddenly show up on a football pitch and it was the best. That's it. And look, there's some video clips that you see of Europeans teaching their kids from age 2 how to play football, how to, I think it's Odegaard, the Arsenal captain, that says that he spent hours kicking the football at the wall and using the trajectory of the way he kicked the ball to measure the speed at which the ball was coming back. Him. And I mean, so to show up on a pitch and play in front of 80,000 people means that you've put in the work.
Yes, it's true. I would say a quick short story to corroborate this thing, and because you mentioned my theater works, which I pride myself a lot in, is that for about I think I know that May 2nd, 2016 was when I did my first theater show as a producer and as a director.
Okay.
My own, right? And for 6 years after that, I was not able to attract any form of sponsorship or any form of support. And I was doing the theater shows once every quarter, which means I would do 4 in a year.
Yeah.
All right. And I considered the first day someone saw this show, and came to me, one of my shows, and came to me and said, this show is good. Could you present it for our company at the end of the year party? I said, why not? We did. And then he said, this show is good. Can we do a Southwest tour with it? It was that time I realized that everything I had been doing the last 6 years was practice to become somebody that we can now say we can let's commission the play. All right. So it is not that day that you start. And I also always say that there's no formula to it. Right? Somebody can start today and practice for just maybe 2 years, and somebody can keep practicing for 10 years. But the most important thing is you must be better than the last time you did it.
You must be better than the last time you did. And look, so this is important. I wear quite a number of hats. In my investment banking hat, one of the things that I always say to people is that you're never going to get a client to come back to you if you don't get results. However, sometimes transactions are not going to go the way you wanted it to go. So you're bidding for an asset with other people, or you're representing a client. There's a chance you're not going to win.
All right.
But one of the things that I've noticed is that if a client is able to look at your work and say, they gave me quality work. Yeah, we didn't win this time around, but they gave me quality work. What I find is that usually they'll come back because the experience they had during their interactions with you showed that you had the right level of commitment, the right level of, excitement, and you had a clear vision of what the client wanted to do. So you see, your story about having that doggedness to keep doing it. I mean, you did it for what?
6 years. 6 years.
6 years before one person actually said, look, you know what? This thing you're doing is good enough for us to replicate.
Yes, and it's also very important to mention this, PFlow, that you are doing it. It also maybe it's not that you're probably not good enough, right? It's just that maybe the right person hasn't seen it. So you don't make that because it's not there yet.
Oh, I absolutely love that. It's not that you're not good enough.
Yes.
It's just that the right person
hasn't seen it yet.
And this is important, especially for the younger generation who are watching this, or people who came to see this. Because so many times you're sitting down there in the day of preparation and you're wondering, but no one is giving me any applause. There are no accolades. There's no one celebrating me. And then suddenly, one person who has the capacity, one person who has the resources, sees you and says, I like what this guy is doing. I want to support him. And boom, you're good to go. However, if you're not conscious of it, that look, I don't know who's going to watch. I don't know who's going to see this. You can just do a mediocre job.
Oh, yes.
And then no one is going to actually ever call you.
What one of my friends said to me the other day, to one at different interval, but I wanted to use the analogy of the first major sponsorship I got from mine. And it was big because they were sponsoring a Southwest tour, right? For a production of about 40-man cast.
Oh, wow.
Right? So I got the money, was excited. We had the Ibadan show, and then we came to Lagos. And then I slept at the venue of the event, right? Making sure that, and my friend was saying, Baba, go and sleep. I said, it's not about the sleep. It's about these people have given me money because they want quality work. They say, okay, if you're go and take hotel. Taking hotel is the flimsiest of things. But why would I be sleeping on a 40,000 naira bed? It's not like it's expensive or anything. And I have a job to deliver. That 40,000 naira may be what I need to make the show better. The first thing on my mind is this show has to be better than what we did in Ibadan. So it is not also about, alone about the right person hasn't seen it yet and all of those things. Do you also have that drive? Do you have that thing that you're looking at? All right, because for crying out loud, somebody has given me this money for the Southwest tour. Somebody else may be in that auditorium to give me another continental tour. So it has to be a conscious effort, And also, sir, imagine that after the 6 years, I'm tired, Jerry, because we get tired easily. We're on the fast lane now, And I didn't do that one as good as I've done the others to motivate that man to say this is good. So you have to keep showing up.
So what you say, where it's a 20-minute show, so we'll start to round this off now. What you say to me that stands out is that you can't let off on your goals. So it's important to have a goal, to have a vision of what the future looks like to you. Because if you don't have a vision of what the future looks like, it's unlikely that you're going to motivate yourself.
Yes, sir.
What I say to people is, you must have a vision of what the future looks like. Because if you do not have a vision of the future, how do you know when you arrive there? You must be able to say, oh, the vision I envisioned or the future I envisioned 3 years ago, I've arrived. Why? Because X, Y, Z has happened. So I think that's very important to everyone who's listening, that a picture of the future is very important.
Very important. Very important.
I wanted to have I had a picture of the future when I was growing up, and it was a G-Wagon, and I think at my 40th birthday, when I had that G-Wagon, I thought, yes, I'm here, but of course, from then, what was next? It became what's next?
What's next?
And of course, my vision now moved away from buying a car or a house, and I started to think about more important things. Now I'm approaching my 50th year, and I'm starting to think, okay, we now need to start thinking legacy. But the key lesson for today, if there's something we're going to summarize, is that you must have a clear vision of the future.
Yes, you have.
And the things that you do along the way must be aligned with that vision of the future. So you kept doing quarterly shows, and eventually somebody saw the quarterly shows and said, you know what, let's take it as a Southwest tour. And this is quite interesting. I'm quite excited about this. I have a feeling that I'm going to bring you back. By the way, Mr. Rain has an event in Lagos.
Yes.
When is it?
It's in October. Yes, October.
Sometime in October. Okay. So it's probably in a few days' time. Please look out for it on social media. And trust me, you're going to have a swell time with this guy. He had a show earlier on this year where he was the only person on stage for 1.5 hours, and we laughed like we were drunk. Anyways, thank you very much, Mr. Rain.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you for the adverts.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you. So, my final words. Listen, life is going to throw all sorts of things at you. The guy who wins is the one who keeps his eye on the ball. The one who doesn't get distracted either by the accolades or by the abuse. The one who focuses on the goal is the one that wins. My name is Femi Oladeng, and you've just had the conversation with PFlow. I'll see you in the next episode. Have a fantastic one.